All right, welcome Ishmael Perez. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate having you on. This has been a long time in the making. We've been going back and forth trying to organize this. So I understand you're very busy, and I really appreciate you doing this. So thanks for being here.
No problem. You're welcome. It's nice being here as well.
Yeah, excellent. So I wanted to start with, I mean, you've done many, many interviews. I've watched a lot of them. But for the people that don't know who you are, who is Ishmael Perez, and how did you come about to have this level of knowledge of our cosmos and the history of humanity and the whole universe?
Well, there's different aspects of Ishmael Press, I guess. You have the third dimensional aspect, which is Ishmael Press being human. I'm a father of two. I'm a husband. I held a 9 to 5 job, and I had to kind of adapt to the matrix for many years, like most people do. And then there's other aspects of Ishmael Perez that are operating on different dimensions, different levels of reality that I guess I've been connected with. So Ishmael Perez is a multidimensional being, just like everyone else out there. It's just that I am just very in tuned. I consider myself an awakened starseed. Although, however, I did have to suppress that for a while due to my religious upbringing. But then later, of course, in my early 20s, I was able to get back into my understanding, or what they say, understanding of things. And yeah, Ishmael Perez is just a multidimensional character. I consider myself an ambassador to the earth, representing an alliance of many universes called the Guardian Alliance, of various names, but Guardian Alliance is the overall general intergalactic organization in which I am part of. And I also believe that a lot of the star seeds out there, whether they know it or not, are sleeping members of the Guardian Alliance. And part of my purpose of coming to this world is to kind of remind the rest of our kind of our purpose and our mission, which has everything to do with the not only saving of the earth, but the organic way of life in the ultimate scheme of things. So yeah, I'm also an author. I published 2 books so far. The first book was The Secret Government. I published it back in 2008 when I was in my early 20s, no, mid 20s. Very revealing the truth about secret societies, the dark side from the light side, the bloodline association, and how every event throughout history has been intelligently planned and orchestrated by members of secret societies, including 9/11 and all that stuff. So imagine putting out a book out there, back in 2008, when people were still kind of not taking the red pill yet. So it was quite of a shocker. But I'm also the author of Amazon's bestseller, Our Cosmic Origin, which is a book that, thank you, that pretty much is an attempt to explain everything, where we come from, why we're here, where we're heading, galactic history, real Earth history, the organization of cosmos, the structure of the cosmos, Earth's relationship to the cosmos, but most importantly, to remind everyone that we don't come from apes, and second of all, that we have been here for only 6,000 years. Yeah, because the whole premise of that book is to let people know that we are part of the angelic kingdom, that we were part of you could say we were involved in a descension process. Our original ancestors were celestials, immortals, and we come from that descendancy. It just so happens that right now we are experiencing the lowest vibrations of light energy of matter, which is what we call the third dimension. But that is reversing as I speak. And that kind of dovetails into what I've been talking about when it comes to the ascension and the restoration of the earth, and of course the restoration of the original angelic human race, which is where we're heading as our dormant DNA becomes activated.
Yes. Can I just interject? I wanted to ask you, as you said, the descendancy, is that in the incarnated three-dimensional form or descendancy in higher realms that are non-physical?
Well, everything is light energy vibration. Even matter is congealed light. So in a sense, we've been involved in this descendants process for quite some time. We started off as pure spirit, and through the process of involution or descent, We went into lower densities until we became physical form. Um, yeah, that's why we're now experiencing the lowest point of that spectrum of light, energy, vibration. But ultimately, everything is energy, frequency, and vibration, including matter, as proven through quantum physics, that even matter is frozen energy, vibrating at extremely low rate of vibration. So as we increase our frequency through meditation, through dance, through things that put us in that state of mind that I call the no mind, we begin to raise our frequency again in our vibration, so that we could once again become beings of light. But the difference now is that now we're actually going to get to keep our bodies. Our bodies are about to become spiritualized. So yeah, that's the good news.
Powerful opening line. Wow, there's so much in there. Um, Far out. Look, I can definitely attest to what you said, because I've heard you talk many times about, and as you just stated, shedding all this programming and indoctrination and religious dogma. And like for me, for example, as a child, I was a very sensitive individual, and as you can imagine, that got dismissed very early on by my father, by my by peers, by kids at school. And so it's taken me a lot of time to release all of that and do the shadow work and do a lot of inner healing, in order to actually realize that that is my, as you sometimes say, that is my X-Men type trait and gift, that I actually can feel into people's energy fields quite strongly and get a sense of what's going on in their life just from what is in their field, which comes with its challenges too as well. But on that note, look, I wanted to ask you, what would your advice be to the amateurs or the beginners in that process of coming into their gifts, when it's kind of like they've been handed the keys to the castle? They may be a starseed, they may be a light worker, but they don't quite know what to do with what they have. They might see it as a curse, or they just don't fully really understand, what is this and why am I so sensitive, and something like that, for example. What would you say to help other people that are listening to this, that would really, benefit from some guidance and advice to hone their skill and step into their power and their craft?
I would say that you are a very special individual who volunteered to return to the earth this time, leaving your heavenly throne, because that's what starseeds are. Starseeds are guardians, overseers, protectors of realms, overseeing galaxies, universes. I would say, you're special, and it's about time that you take up your responsibility and purpose, and embrace your talents, and embrace your individuality, and embrace your difference. We didn't come here to fit in. We came here to pretty much destroy the system. We came here as system busters, as some would say. So I would just remind them that that they are the saviors that every religious text has been talking about in every tradition. And that's what I would say to them.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Do you believe that the souls that are incarnating now at this time are star seeds, solely star seeds, or is there a mixture of star seeds and, I don't know what you would call the other, just incarnated souls into human form?
As of 2012, I think every soul that has been coming in is a star seed. So most of them are children. Yeah.
The indigo children, right?
Now they would be, yeah, well, crystal children. Yeah, crystal children. They're already coming in with about 3 to 4 strands of DNA, some 5. And
The
they're
12,
they're say that again.
of the 12, is that right?
Out of the 12, yeah.
But from what I think I've heard you say, we can go beyond the 12.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're the only race in the cosmos that has the opportunity to go all the way up to 144,000 strands, which has everything to do with the frequency hertz beyond anything that has ever existed prior to us.
Yeah. And so right now the average human has about what is it, 1 or 2 strands active?
2 strands. And we've been having that for the last, I would say for the last, well, give and take. There was several periods throughout history where we were operating with 5 and 6 strands, like say during the times right before the times of Babel, when everybody was under one language, one understanding, which means everybody was telepathic. But due to the dark side takeover of our world in the form of Nimrod and the Tower of Babel incident, the forces of light had to redisconnect some of those strands in order to prevent the sinister agenda from taking place 6,000 years ago, which was the same agenda that is playing out now, transhumanism. And that's what the whole Tower of Babel was about. It was about bringing advanced external technology without properly evolving us spiritually, at the expense of our spiritual evolution, in other words, because people weren't ready for that type of, I guess, technology back then, which is the same technology that they're trying to incorporate now. It's just that, back then it was Nimrod that was the one that was bringing in this technology that is directly related to, becoming a cyborg and, merging with tech and all that stuff. It's always been about that.
Interesting. On that note, I'd like to go into a little bit of the history of our origin, and if you can talk a bit about also Atlantis and give a bit of an overview.
Well, our origin, I mean, if you want to be if you want to go local, we came into being exactly approximately 50,000 years ago in Lemuria. That's when the 12 races hailing from the 12 major creations came together to contribute their genetics to create the 12-strand DNA Teranusian angelic orphan. That was supposed to be the original makeup, the original human that came into being about 50,000 years ago. But if you want to go back into the history of our galaxy, we could trace back our origin back to Lyra, which is the cradle of all human civilization. And that began, some say, a few billion years ago. So that was a long time, and then if you want to go beyond our local universe, we could say that the original galactic human archetype was developed in the first creation, which goes back to the first universe approximately 900 billion years ago. So mankind has been around for a long time. We have it's funny because most people think that extraterrestrials look different, but the majority of the extraterrestrials are human-like.
Yeah.
And that's going to be one of the biggest shockers when the disclosure takes place.
Yeah, and that's why, from my understanding, the Pleiadians are going to be the first ones that we are to meet, because they are the closest, the humanoids, the guardians of humanity. Is
Well,
that
they're us in the near future. They're actually Pleiadians are time travelers. They came from the past. Some of them, not all of them are good. Some of, most of them are. A small number of them did defect and join the dark forces during the times of Atlanteans and worked side by side with the Draco. Those are what I call the renegade Pleiadians, just like some of the renegade Nordics from Aldebaran. So not all the humans out in the galaxy are good. The majority of them are, but a small percentage of them did side with the Draco, unfortunately. But they're all going to pay. They're all going to face trial soon.
wow. So there are, from my understanding, there are both on there have been both military tribunals occurring on Earth as well as off-world as well.
Absolutely.
Galactic
Yeah,
level.
especially now. Yeah, more than ever. I think within the last 10 months, um, due to this reorganization of the Federation, all the defectors are going to be facing Galactic Tribunal.
That result in, like, do they have like a form of jail, or is it execution?
It depends on how deep their crimes were. If they just defected and were manipulated, like in the case of Enki, then they're going to be just facing it's not what we call jail. It's similar to what we are shown in the movie Superman. They go into this phantom zone where they're kind of like trapped in a place where they can't get out of for 100,000 years or whatever their time sentence is, depending on the crime. If they were straight out being malicious, eating humans, trading humans in the intergalactic black market, harvesting human organs, they're going to be pretty much eradicated. Like even their soul is going to be extinguished. Like they're going to go back. They're going to be reduced to nothingness. So it all depends on the crime, But the first species that we're going to make contact is our local neighbors, the Venetians, the beings from Venus. And the second ones are going to be the those from Jupiter, from the Jupiter command. And then the third ones are going to be the positive Pleiadians, the positive Lyrans, the positive Andromedans, Syrians, Arcturians. And the
Wow.
reason I say positive is because there's a small group in every race. There's always a small group that defects to the other side, and this also includes the Draco. You know, not all the Draco are evil. A small percentage, I think 3% of the reptilians have joined sides to the light, and so you know,
Very interesting. I didn't realize that in terms of you're talking about the disclosure of extraterrestrial races to humanity, right? I thought it was Palladian kind of first. I was going to ask
they
you.
are but it's going to be first the Venusians. First, we're going to get to interact and meet our local interplanetary brothers and sisters from
Oh,
planet Venus, from planet Jupiter, because even those planets are inhabited. They're just operating on different dimensions. You could say our entire solar system is colonized, by the way. And they've been working intimately with members of our own Earth delegates, those that are part of like Solar Warden and Radiant Glory.
yes.
So and I believe that one of the first things that we're going to come to understand is the fact that we have had technology that is like 700-800 years ahead of the general public. That's going to kick off the disclosure, and then we're going to pretty much meet the different members that are working with the Earth Alliance, and then when we are doing that, we're going to meet the Venusians, those that are working with the Jupiter command, and then of course some of the Pleiadians, Andromedans, and Arcturians.
Wow. You know, when I hear you talk about this, and when I listen to people, someone like Dolores Cannon, I've always felt like I don't belong here. I feel at home. It just feels so loving and embracing. And I mean, there's no real words to describe it. It's just that love vibration. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you've done an interview with Mike Jaco, and I've heard Mike Jaco himself, because I've followed him quite a lot over the last few years, talk about when he did some travel to Venus and met with the Venetians, and spent a period of time. I think he said about 6 months in Venus, and he talked a lot about how they taught him a lot about love, and how the waterfalls, the water was conscious, the water was loving. There is like an entire energy, and I could really feel that as he was saying it. So it's very interesting you say the Venetians. Are they, just on that note, are they humanoid extraterrestrial race?
Yeah, all of the members of our United Federation of Interplanetary Council or Guardians are humanoids. Yeah.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to say on this topic is I feel, with the best and most love and respect for humanity that I can muster, that I feel that people like you and I and many of the people that are going to be listening to this are ready for that disclosure, and do want to meet our fellow brothers and sisters. But overall, I feel humanity is not ready for that. That's just my opinion. Do you agree with that? And do you believe that what will lead to that readiness is going to be the solar flash or some other occurrence that will allow that? Because I think if crafts were appearing out of nowhere, as they already have been sort of sticking out, I think predominantly a lot in South America, North America, and even China and parts of Asia. I think from what I've understood, they are wanting to show themselves so that humans start to question that there is something way beyond just this earth, and way beyond this fact that we think we live and we die and there's only one life. So what are your thoughts in terms of humanity's readiness, and what is going to lead us to being more ready to connecting to the other races?
Well, I believe that, okay, let me readdress everything. Let me go back, rewind a little. Okay, so the star seeds are going to be the ones that are going to break the icebergs when it comes to disclosure. When the activation of a dormant DNA, some of the star seeds are going to transform. A lot of them, actually. Every star seed. It's going to start with a few, and it's going to set a chain reaction. So we're going to have different types of meta-humans, and that's going to be the disclosure. And then we're going to be able to connect with our galactic community in a peaceful way. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but the star seeds are the ones that are going to be the first ones to lead the disclosure by the activation of the dormant DNA.
Yeah.
So to the average human, they're going to appear to be, extraterrestrial because of the abilities that they're going to be able to do. So yeah, so the starseeds are going to be the ones that are going to be the disclosure, and then that's going to followed by the reinstatement of Earth back into the galactic community. So
there seems to be a lot of as you know, there seems to be a lot of different threads that are intertwined into even this topic. Like where my mind goes to is, what does that look like in terms of when that occurs? Is that once those that have awakened move into the 5D consciousness, will they physically be visible on this earth plane but not visible to those that are operating in lower dimensions? Like, do you know what I mean? Will that happen after the solar flash? Like, if this is a bit of a multifaceted question, but I've heard you talk a few times about, or many times about, the solar flash occurring, and you talk about how everyone is going to awaken. There's going to be this big event, but I've also heard you talk about how those that have chosen to go down the sort of 3D jab dystopian timeline will go down a different route. So can you explain how that sort of makes sense? Because to me, they're conflicting or contrary ideas. Is there something I'm missing here, or is there another piece to it?
all right, so the only ones that are not going into the positive timeline are those that are promoting Mark of the Beast. And a lot of those people are, working with big tech and the power structure that it currently exists. And the people that were coerced to get jabbed are still going to have an opportunity to go into the fourth dimensional Earth. And the people that are not, that didn't partake of the Mark of the Beast, like most of the celestial star seeds that are on the Earth, they're going to go into the fifth and sixth and above. So there's going to be a bifurcation of timelines, you could say, when the solar flash takes place. But because the greatest majority of humans who are still younger souls, the Earth Terrans, to them, those that are in the fifth and sixth dimension and above are going to appear to be like gods and goddesses, or superhumans or mutants. And then that's when the disclosure will take place. The disclosure is the star seeds. The star seeds are the extraterrestrials, are the celestials in human form. And so they are what's bridging the gap, you could say, between us and the higher dimensions, or the galactic and intergalactic communities.
Very interesting. I think you're in agreement with what Dolores Cannon talks about how this new Earth will literally be a relocation to a new Earth. Firstly, do you agree with that we will physically shift to a new Earth, or is it just a new dimension? Because from what I believe you said in the past interviews, the 5D Earth is already there waiting for us to reach that frequency and that level of consciousness.
Well, it's all around us. The 5D Earth is not a location, it's here. It's just when the shift takes place, we're going to literally be translated from one reality to the next in a blink of an eye.
Right. And when that happens, is there going to be you will no longer see 5G towers, you'll no longer see all the manipulation they've done to infrastructure and all of that kind of thing?
No, we're going to see beautiful crystalline cities, beautiful natural architectures, advanced. We're going to see the Earth as it was before the fall of Atlantis and before the fall of Lemuria. And of course, Tartaria and all those other civilizations that were eliminated out of history.
Yes.
That were left out of history. So everything's going to be restored. So those civilizations are still there. The Mayans are still there in this higher dimensional Earth called Terra. So when the shift takes place, all we're going to do is translate from this third dimensional Earth to that new, to that already existing, fifth dimensional Earth. Yeah. But it's going to be existing in 4 dimensions, 4, 5, and 6. Yeah.
So everyone, as you said, that was not pushing the jab and that sort of timeline, they will all move as well, but they'll be operating within 4, 5, and 6 dimension within that structure.
Within the 4th dimension, if they're the new like newbie souls, the younger souls.
Right. So what sorry, yeah, go on.
The non-star seeds, the non-volunteers.
Yeah. Okay, so what does that look like in terms of family and friends that have chosen a different path? Will we still be able to connect with them? Will it be a consciousness thing? Because as I'm experiencing right now in my life, most of my family have taken it. Most of my family are completely asleep to what's going on. And so I find throughout my day, and with many other people that I connect with, that I'm doing, spiritual coursework with, I'm oscillating between what feels like a third and a fifth dimension, consciously. I'm going into, as you said, this awakened state within the matrix, and working with people that may be awake but still have certain, limitations and whatnot. Not to judge them, but just there is this you know oscillation type experience and process. Is that how did I'm just trying to wrap my mind around this. How does that look when it comes to family and friends after we make this shift, as you've just explained?
Well, they're gonna, first of all, they're gonna see us disappear, and then they're gonna, as we lower our frequency, we're gonna be able to pop back into their reality and the fourth dimension. But when we do so, we're still gonna look human. We're gonna still be able to kind of transform back into what we look like, but we're gonna have abilities. We're gonna be teleporting. We're gonna be bilocating. Some of us are gonna be flying. So to them, we're gonna be like angels or gods or superheroes.
Yeah, that's cool. And so if you live with them, if you keep disappearing, how does that, I mean, I'm just like, I don't know, maybe it's beyond my ability to comprehend at this point, but do you have
Oh
an
well, they'll know. They'll know by then. There's going to be of a level of the veil lifting for everyone. So they'll come to understand that you are no longer human. They'll understand that you're something different. But at the same time, they'll be able to respect you more and hopefully not worship you. you know.
I just heard you say on an interview about is it deify, this anthropomorphization of gods and idols and things like that. I'd like to move on to, as we sort of come towards the last 15-20 minutes here. Can you sort of tell us what is the current worldview situation? From my understanding, I believe the midterm elections are coming up in a few days in the US. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
So what is actually going on, and what is the facade of what's going on, and what is actually going on behind the scenes at a world level, and with regards also to this midterm election? We know, I think we both know here, and anyone that's listening to this knows that the current president, Joe Biden, is not Joe Biden. It's not who he has been, and I think we can agree that he was, taken out a while ago. So, did the white hats put this puppet in place to wake up humanity because he's just an absolute laughing stock of the world? Or is that something that the black hats did because the white hats took him out? How does that all kind of intertwine from a political standpoint of our
It's
current?
more like the second, except it's not the dark hats, it's artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence became aware back in 2000 and I think 2016, right around the time, Mr. T came into office.
Yeah.
So, in fact, the reason why Mr. T was cheated out of his second term was because it was all manipulated by the AI system through, Zuckerberg and you know what I mean, right? The big tech. So what we're dealing with is we're dealing with a some kind of like a mirage that is being generated by AI. So these people that we see in positions of power aren't really people like we think they are. They're just complete NPCs. Yeah. And technically, Mr. T is still the president. So what we're seeing right now in the open world, it's just a final play out, before the curtains fall down on the wizard, before the truth comes out. And I'm gonna people are probably not gonna like what I'm gonna say, but things are gonna continue as normal in the next few days with the midterm. But as we get closer to 2023 and as we go into 2023, yeah, a lot of weird stuff is going to be happening. And in some cases, things might appear as if they're getting worse, but that's just because it always happens before we shift into the next age. Things always reach a level or a climax rather, like a boiling pot, where it just reaches a climax. It's boiling, and then it just pops. And when it pops, something new takes its place. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, we're still going to witness the disintegration, rather the collapse of everything, not just the geopolitical structure, medicine, education, sorry, science, everything. Everything's going to be reorganized. And
Yes, it makes me think of. I always think of that final scene of the movie Fight Club where all the buildings are falling down and they're just standing there holding hands, and it's like this beautiful thing. As bless you, as I've kind of started to, you've spoken about people that are being activated. I feel like I've started being activated, but I'm not yet quite 100%, working from a point of doing what I feel I'm here to do as a mission standpoint. But that desire and that fire in me is really starting to ignite. That I'm moving much faster towards that path.
Mhm.
So, where was I going to go with that? That's my train of thought. um, it might come back to me anyway. So yeah, so everything as it seems is collapsing, but I have a sense of peace in that because it's kind of like this beautiful dissolution. Because I don't tend to, and I'm sure many people don't tend to tune into necessarily what's going on from a mainstream media point of view. So it's kind of for me at this point, it's more like I've been listening to people like you, more of a positive timeline, explanations rather than just tuning into fear porn and that kind of thing. Look, I wanted to ask you, we've got about 10, 15 minutes left. Can you give us any specifics on Australia and what's going on here? Because specifically, obviously, there's still people in power that shouldn't be, or that we know they shouldn't be. I'm still seeing a lot of weather manipulation, HARP, chemtrails. We've had here it's springtime, we're just coming into summer. We've had the most ridiculous last 2 weeks of rain, in specific areas, but not in another suburb. So why is that still going on? Why is that still going on? Things like
It's probably all gonna continue until the shift of the ages takes place, because by astrological and by natural cosmic law, um, the way I've the way I've noticed how things take place is once the stars are aligned, once we enter this new house of the zodiac, which we're entering, that's when the shift takes place. That's when the old collapses and the new begins. So until that shift takes place, and I'm starting to think that we're not going to see any EBS or any new financial rollout until the solar flash takes place, because you know it's even when you go back to history, when you go back to the age of the bull before it became the age of the ram. The age of the bull was ruled by Zeus and Enlil Zeus, and during that age there was peace on the earth because Zeus is the one who brought the scales of justice to the earth, right? His daughter Athena used to carry him, and when they were um, in power during those days, there was peace on the earth for a few thousand years, and it wasn't until we enter the age of the ram that the dark side took force. And despite the fact that Belial Marduk, the son of Enki, tried so hard to usher in his dark age, he couldn't do it until his age came about, until his age was permitted him to. So everything is ruled by the stars, everything is ruled by alignments, astrological alignments, planetary stellar alignments. And so until we are fully aligned with the age of Aquarius, all this is going to continue. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah,
Because their time is done. At that point, the shift comes, and the shift is already happening again. But in order for everyone to witness this new heaven on earth, this re-entry into the golden age, right? Um, we have to abide by astrological laws and stellar cycles,
so,
because ultimately we are being governed by the stars.
yes, interesting. So does that mean you talk about how the war is already won at a higher cosmic level? Does,
Exactly.
does that mean then that for that dimensional, that realm, the stars have, aligned and it's working its way down into the earth realm?
Um, sure, you could say it's like that because everything first begins in the higher dimensions before it takes effect in the lower dimensions.
Yeah.
So in the higher dimensions, yeah, things are already in balance, in harmony, so it's just a matter of time before it trickles down here into the lower dimension.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
again, everything is being governed by cosmic and astrological alignments. And until we are fully in the age of Aquarius, we're still going to see all this stuff happening.
I think that's why I feel this urge and desire to start to really carry out my mission, because it's the star seeds and the light workers that are going to be the ones that accelerate that ascension process, right? Because not
Yeah,
only are we raising the vibration on the earth for humanity, I believe, like Dr. Hawkins' work, the power of consciousness, he talks about, I haven't read the book, but I'm familiar with the concept of this balancing effect of, as you raise into the higher levels of consciousness, 300, 400, it increases how many people raise their consciousness with respect to that individual. It's quite a
absolutely. Yeah,
fascinating concept. So, yeah, I mean, I feel personally, and I just want to make this statement to anyone listening too, that, you know, I think people feel like, oh, I'm not a chosen one. I'm not the star seed, even though they chose to be here. But in my opinion, maybe you have something different. Anyone can be a light worker. To me, being a light worker is just illuminating light, shining your consciousness. Whether I walk into a store and smile or radiate that light, whether I balance my chakras, clear my energy fields, protect my energy fields, anything like that, for me, you're just moving through, this earth just as light, because I don't have a really deep knowledge of the science, but Zach Bush talks about the photons and how we are photons. I physically feel it, that as you work through and release the shadow or integrate the shadow and work with all your unconscious, and subconscious aspects, the more comes to the surface, the more you become lighter. And it just seems really fitting with what you said about this like pimple popping effect, because we people sometimes look at me like, oh, why are you so down? Why are you going through all this stuff? It's like, because I have to bring it to the surface to meet it and then transmute it into the light so I can become more light. So
exactly.
yeah. Um,
It's, yeah, it's called alchemizing.
there we go. That's a one word to summarize everything I just said in two sentences. Do you have any more specifics on Australia at all? I have heard you in the past talk about them trying to open up a portal here. I am familiar that I've even listened to, a couple of years ago, I got into Cosmic Disclosure on Gaia and listened to Emery Smith talk about what's going on at Pine Gap in Western Australia. A lot of cloning, I know. I've known there's been a lot of rescue missions here in the underground tunnels and things like that. I've personally seen some of the strangest flooding, probably earlier this year. It almost felt like it was done by the white hats, that they created the rain so they could flood out the tunnels, because the water was coming out of the drain up onto the road very early on. It wasn't like it was full. So, so people don't freak out. I feel like it was a planned type operation with respect to that. Do you have any specifics?
Well, I mean, I do know that there's a lot of activity going on in the underground in Australia, and a lot of the jump gates that have access to the colonies in Mars and in the different, interplanetary structures, off-world structures, are located in Australia. Well, they're all over the world, but I mean, Australia has a lot.
Yes.
I also know that there is a portal that that the White Hats have been trying to win back from the Cabal, because the Cabal have been using that portal to kind of use it for nefarious reasons, to transport humans into other regions of our galaxy, to use them as slaves, and also to use them as food resources to some of these negative extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
So yeah, Australia is probably next to what's that country?
New Zealand.
No, no. Russia and next to the Ukraine, you could say Australia is the probably the second, you know, hub of the cabal
Oh
when it
yes.
comes to what's
Yeah,
going on.
I
So
definitely.
I wouldn't be surprised if Mr. P from Russia is setting his sail on Australia next to clean house over there, which is going to be totally a maneuver, by the white hats to eventually clean up the mess everywhere on our planet. But I do believe that Australia is like the second hub of corruption. Oh yeah.
Absolutely. And in your, you've obviously done stuff with Jason Shirker, who I'm a big fan of and really respect his work. In his disclosure series with Ray, they talk about Australia and the missions that went on in the underground tunnels. I have also heard that there has been also extraterrestrial involvement to help take some of these children off world for healing. And that there was a lot, much like how they tried to dismiss, I think it was 35,000 that were rescued from New York in the evening. As soon as you look that up online, it says fact check that did not happen. That it's like, are you kidding me? Like, why do
Yeah.
you say that? It's such a specific thing. So yeah, that is very interesting. On that note, as we come to a close here, it's something I really wanted to ask you because you talk a lot about Mr. P, Mr. Putin. I'm going to say his name because this is going to go where I can say it. There have been, from my understanding, he has been part of the World Economic Forum and is one of the, or has been one of the, what is it, the young global leaders. How does that tie into what you're saying and what many truthers are saying about what he's doing now and which side he's on? Because all I can personally say is that I see what they say in the mainstream media about him, and I know that they lie about everything. So whatever they're saying about him is most likely the complete opposite. When listening to an amazing journalist like Lara Logan talk about the history of Ukraine in 2014, how a lot of this has been going on, the bioweapons labs, all the corruption, all the evil, everything you've just stated. Who is Putin? Is he has he been cloned? What's really going on there? Has he switched from being part of that dark side to the good side? What's happening with him?
Yeah, they took out the old Putin, who was part of the World Economic Forum, and they replaced him with the good one,
So who took him out? The White Hats or
the Earth Alliance. Yeah, the Earth Alliance took him out,
okay?
and so the new one is working with the good guys, and that explains why Mister T, the real president of the states, handed over the soccer ball to him as a symbol of, hey, here's the torch. He knew that he was going to get cheated out of the election. He goes, I can't finish the job, but you can.
Yeah.
you know?
But there were a lot of something codes within that ball. Something was planted in that ball. I don't know if that's
Mhm.
true or not.
Well, it was a symbol of, you know, a symbol of transferring, you could say, um,
Power.
responsibility. Like, hey, I'm supposed to drain the swamp, but I need a second term. But I know I'm going to get cheated out of my second term, so I'm going to give you the responsibility to drain the swamp worldwide. What I mean? So that was just like a metaphor, when he handed him over the soccer ball.
Yes, beautiful. All right, and just to round out, I wanted to sort of finish on a couple quick points. And I was having a look in one of the chapters in your book, and you spoken about this quite a lot recently. Can you talk a little bit about this Homo nauticus and what it is, and the junk DNA and things like that, the angels among us, as you say?
Sure. Well, there's two competing versions of Human 3.0. There is the natural organic version that is taking place with the restructuring of our cellular codons and the activation of dormant DNA through the solar photonic gamma light energy that is coming in. And then there is the transhumanist, version of Human 3.0. And so, according to the original prophecies, they've always talked about the organic version of Human 3.0 emerging from the already existing human race. And due to, I guess, sudden jumps or evidence of physical mutations that have taken place throughout, the millenniums, scientists have actually predicted that, sometime during the beginning of the 21st century, there should be some sort of a new race that would come into the scene due to some sort of genetic mutation. Well, they didn't understand that the genetic mutation was taking place by the incoming photonic gamma ray energy that is coming from the galactic core via our sun into the Earth. And but they foresaw it coming, So they called it, they used the word Homo neoticus to make reference to a more superior type of being, They also used the word,
Right?
say that again.
Realizing that it's just us more advanced, right?
Yeah, pretty much. It's us mutating. And they also use the word Homo galactus. And it's funny because those that are pushing the transhumanist path use the word Homo universalis. So there's two competing versions of Human 3.0. There is the organic version, which is what's happening, at a cellular level, right? The mutation that's taking place, the activation of dormant DNA, which is an all natural process. And then there is the transhumanist process, which is what the, people in power have been pushing for the last 10, 15 years. Well, technically in the private sector, it all began with the Nazis. The Nazis were the first ones to begin the process and were very successful in the, accomplishments of building the first cyborgs,
Yeah.
which were their version of super soldiers, Project Omega.
It started with Project Paperclip, right? As they, found their way into the US and worked their way into positions of power across many sections.
Well, Project Paperclip was more about them just taking over the states, exactly the way it's revealed in Marvel Comics, except they call it Hydra.
Yes.
So we could say that the deep state is a version. It's the Nazis taking over.
I can't remember the name of the show, but there was, I think, an Amazon show that came out a few years ago with Al Pacino, where he's this Jewish guy that is there to take out all these people with Project Paperclip. I mean, it was so in your face. Back then, I didn't have the knowledge I do now, but it's exactly what you're stating with regards to that. Final points, Ishmael, that you'd have. Anything you want to add or share, or any advice to people as we move collectively through this, powerful time, I'd like to call it, because it really is a powerful time as we die and reemerge as such a more harmonious and loving race, among this earth and the cosmos.
Well, try to stay away from the negative, I guess, doomsday, fear porn, based teachings, because there are parallel Earths, and so they want to throw everyone into the Earth version where it's like an apocalypse type of doomsday, scarcity. We run out of food, a new disease comes into being, a new virus that is lethal. That could only happen if enough of us believe that. So we have to stay strong to our, we have to control our thoughts. We have to stay strong to what we want to manifest. And what we want to manifest is a better world. So just remember that we are all co-creating, a new heaven on earth. So yeah, don't buy into the fear porn, because that's what they want to ultimately create. And I keep hearing it, we're going to be running out of food in the next few months. This is what's going to happen. There's going to be shortages, and I always tell people, well, not in my reality,
Yes.
not in my reality. So it all depends on where you put your attention, So if we could hold the attention of, abundance, harmony, peace, world peace, and if enough of us think that, then that's what we're going to manifest.
Yes. Beautiful.
And also, I I don't know, if people want to order my book, it's really a mind opener. If you haven't had a chance to read Our Cosmic Origin, it is available on
Yeah, I was going to finish
Amazon.
asking you, where can people find you? What are you doing at the moment? Yeah, I'm getting stuck into this book. It's quite illuminating. Definitely, it feels there's a lot. There's a lot in there. I'm going to need a couple months on that to go through it a few times. So where can people find you, Ishmael? What are your links? And you can send me some links, and I'll leave them in the show notes and stuff. But what's
Well,
the
I'm mostly active on Instagram, Project Restorations Ion One. And I do have a Facebook, but when I post on Instagram, it automatically goes to my Facebook. I really don't use my Facebook as much.
yeah,
I also teach an online starseed cosmology class. I can give you the link for that. That goes in depth about cosmic information, different dimensions, um, the different star races. It goes deep. Our mission, our purpose, what starseeds are, where we're heading. I teach techniques at the end of the third course, techniques that allow people to connect with their multidimensional selves. I'm going to be going on a tour across the states in the next week, and so I will be putting out announcements as to where I'm going to be heading, and that way, people could come meet me if they want.
mhm.
And what else? What else?
Good stuff in Australia.
Oh no, I'm not going to be going international yet.
Mhm.
Probably by next summer I'll be traveling the world. But right now I'm just gonna go in the States.
It's a bit hard at the moment still.
I probably will be attending the Red Pill the Red Pill convention in Utah on the 12th and 13th of this month. So
Okay.
I'm probably gonna make an appearance, for those that are going to the convention, just to give you guys the heads up. And I'm not going to be one of the speakers, but just like when I went to Anaheim 2 weeks ago, they asked me to take the stage. So if
Yeah,
they do, I'll take the stage. If not, then at least you can get to say hi.
beautiful, beautiful. Well, Ishmael, thank you so much for doing this, and thank you so much for your time. It's been an honor and a pleasure to have you, spread your wisdom and your knowledge and your insights for the world in not just this interview, but in everything you do, and for the people of Australia, as my intention is to help also bring this awareness and this light to the people of this country so that we too can, ascend to higher dimensions and realms. So thank you so much for being here, and until next time.